Through the increased use of Zoom and other technologies, the world has become smaller and more accessible. To me, it's just incredible that we can welcome Barbara Bonney here with us this weekend, live from her home in Salzburg. We're so grateful to you, Ms. Bonney. And as we learned yesterday in our wonderful session, the warmth and radiance that so many of us have loved for years about Barbara's singing is also reflected in her wonderful personality, warmth, and the kindness that we see in her teaching style. So thank you so much, Barbara, again for joining us this weekend.
Thank you, Wendy. I had such a great time yesterday. All the singers were super, and it was fun, and everyone responded so positively. It was a great experience. And I look forward to hearing you all tonight for me, this morning for you. So let's get started right away. I think the first singer is Emma. Hello there, hi.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Okay.
My name is Emma Ujifusa, and today I will be singing Devieni non tardar from Mozart's Le Nozze di Figaro. Giunse il fine momento che godrò senza affanno in braccio il mio. Uscite nel mio petto a turbar non venite il mio diletto. Oh, come par che all'amoroso fuoco l'amenità del luogo, la terra e il ciel risponda. Seconda.
Well done, Emma. Very, very good. Wow, that's a slow tempo. Is that your choice to sing it that slowly?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, okay. I would make it easier on myself because all right, let's look at it this way. In Figaro, where does this aria come
It's
in the opera?
it's near the end, Act 4.
It's
3.
in the kind of almost in the middle of Act 4. It's before the Act 4 finale.
Yeah.
And what happens is, I mean, this whole opera takes place over one day. It's just, I mean, it's one day,
Yeah.
this crazy opera, and so much crazy stuff happens. And it kind of almost goes off the rails. And then it ends up to this aria where there's finally a moment of repose where things are not progressing hysterically. And the audience gets a chance to sort of go, oh, and take a breath, and then tra la 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 il pico piaggio, and then it starts again in the big race to the end of the opera with the Act 4 finale, which is also totally hysterical and crazy. So this moment is incredibly special, but in my opinion, it should also be incredibly simple, very simple, so that it goes out like a little blessing on the audience, a little kiss on their heads, on their forehead, saying it's going to be all right. We're all going to get to the end of this opera.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's crazy, but it requires a simplicity, I think. And if it's too slow to me, it sounds too modern. It sounds too bel canto and not enough baroque. Because if we think about it, Mozart writes in the style of Baroque composers. He wouldn't know anything different because
Right.
he's the beginning of a new period, yeah? But he doesn't know that yet, obviously. So he's still using the rules of the Baroque composers. So, and if you look at it, it says allegro vivace assai. The key word there is vivace, yeah? It's the excitement, the incredible excitement. Our plan is going to work.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Yeah, and you're kind of little girly about it. And
Yeah.
you also know that Figaro is off in the bushes listening to
Right.
you, yeah? And you're trying to make him think that you're singing for the count, even though the audience realizes that you're not. Okay, so what I would do in the beginning is treat this more like talking. In other words, vibrato is not really a thing in recitativo accompagnato. What we're trying to do is get the information out. So it's giunse il fine il momento che godrò senza affanno in braccio vi do il nido. And then the orchestra goes because it's all totally exciting, yeah? Timidi cure uscite dal mio petto. So there's no time to really vibrate. It's all about the speedy delivery of the text. Again, the vivace is important. So can we do it without the accompaniment?
Yeah.
Just because I don't know how fast or slow that is. Can you just take a quicker tempo and try not to vibrate on the notes? Just speak.
Giunse il fine momento che godrò senza affanno in braccio il idol mio.
Already so much better. Can you do even a little bit less vibrato? And also in Italian, we all know, we're not going to stress the last syllable except on the word godrò, because that's where the accent is.
Yeah.
So it's giunse al fine il momento. The men is important and the toe is not. Che godrò senza affanno. The no is not important. In braccio l'idol mio. The O is not important. Okay, try that once again.
Giunse il fine momento che godrò senza affanno in braccio l'idol mio.
Very good. Same thing here.
Timide core uscite dal mio petto a turbarmi nel mio diletto.
So, and I would suggest you take a teeny bit of time on the mio because you're talking about my distress. Yeah. This is the wonderful thing about Italians. They're so connected to themselves. Yeah. It's all basically, it's terribly sweet. It's all about them. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's so honest. It's so genuine. I love it. A turbar non venite il mio diletto. A turbar, nochmal.
A turbar non venite il mio diletto.
Good. Keep going. Now legato.
Oh, come par che all'amoroso fuoco l'amenità del luogo la terra e il ciel risponda.
Do you have your score in front of you?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, have a look. Because whenever Mozart writes a pause, he means it. He wants you to not sing over it. So it's la manita del loco, breathe. La terra, breathe. E il cielo risponda. So try not to connect those two because there is a rest there. Let's go. Oh, come par, very legato.
Oh, come par che l'amoroso fuoco l'amenità del loco la terra il ciel risponda
Good.
come la notte i forti miei seconda.
All right, so now, this is so interesting. This is the moment at the end of each recitativo accompagnato. It's hard for conductors. They all struggle. It's not just one of them, all of them. It's hard for them to accompany a singer who is being free with this big orchestra in front of them, and everyone has to respond like they're listening, but of course they're not. So the conductor has to be very nimble here, and it's hard for him. So you have to use that last come la notte I forti miei seconda trum, so he knows this is your tempo. Dum, 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 dum. Again, if you look at the tempo, it says andante 6/8. 6/8 means it's in 2, not in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. It's 1, 2, right? And andante basically means just a regular walking tempo. This almost like moderato, a little bit faster even. So it's dum 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 dum, and that's what that becomes apparent when you have this passage coming with the woodwinds. Yeah, that has to be light and sweet and moving forward. It can't be da 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 da. It's too slow. Okay, so I would consider. Is there any way you can speed up your accompaniment? Is that what's? Is that accompanist?
It's pre-recorded.
Right. Okay. All right. So we'll stick with the tempo, but consider doing it quite a bit faster, and you will find it so much easier to sing.
Do you want me to just sing it without the accompaniment?
Yeah. Try it without. Okay. Let's try it without. Okay. Very good. Now you did a good thing there with the comma, but in Italian, you don't use glottis. So you can't say, oh, gioia. Yeah. So it's devieni non tardare, oh, gioia. Go right to the O. Okay, try it again. Now, in this phrase, I would make an exception. Simply because it goes way down into that low register, make it easy on yourself. Take a breath. Finché non splende in ciel, breathe. Notturna face. Then you have all that extra air to involve in the mixing of the chest to the head voice. Yeah? Once again, that phrase. Good, keep going. Right. What usually happens in Italian is they slur all the vowels together. So usually what I hear in my ear in Europe is here, Bruna il mon, not Bruna il. Okay. They love to just string all the vowels together. Okay. Finché. Okay, very good. So let's go back to the beginning. And I just want to talk to you about one thing. Mozart needs to be incredibly clean. There's something about his music because it's so dimensional. It's so like 3D printing computer game going on all the same time, because it's so complex, but nonetheless, it's still completely simple. It's so elegantly, obviously simple and genius at the same time. And in order to be clean, if we have too much vibrato or too wide of vibrato, we're not hearing the center of the notes. So whenever I sang this, I always turned on my little girl mode, and I went back and used my little girl voice. In other words, I kind of sounded like I was 14. And for some reason, the audience loved that I didn't sound like an opera singer, but that I just sound like an innocent little girl just singing from her heart. And that people would always say to me, oh, that was so touching. You didn't sound like an opera singer. And I know that sounds completely crazy, but there's something to it. So could you consider finding your 14-year-old voice just as an experiment, just to see if this helps to get across this sweeter quality that is so touching for the audience? So in other words, as little vibrato as possible, just the center of the tone. Every once in a while, let the vibrato creep in, but not that it becomes a default setting in your voice. Okay, try from the beginning again. Thank you so much. That for me, that is so much better. I don't know what anybody else. Let's look at everybody else. Anybody else like that too? I don't see any faces turned on. Okay, let's hope you all like that. I love that. Great. Go back to the other view. Here we go. Okay, that you see, that's so honest. It's so genuine, and the voice is still carrying. It's not that you're any less loud than you were before, but it's not as the sound is not so distorted because of the vibrato being slightly too wide, and which in essence creates overtones that are not quite distinguishable, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's important to keep the vibrato like a shimmer in the voice. It's a little bit of energy, but it's not a great big action, especially not going back and forth. If anything, can you think about it like a rolled R, like it's like water going over pebbles in a brook. Yeah, it's not hitting back and forth like birds in a cage. Yeah, we don't want it back and forth. We want it to roll forward. Let's try again. Streamline it as much as possible. And one thing that will help you, if you put a sweet smile in your cheeks, that immediately improves the sound quality of the voice. Same thing when you answer the telephone and you say, hi, I'm having such a great day. And everyone goes, huh? That doesn't make any sense. You go, hi, I'm having such a great day. It's so cool. That smile, that effervescence immediately makes the voice more beautiful. Okay, so try that from the beginning again. I love it. Good. Good. Take a breath. Yeah, just smile at the audience. Keep the smile. Good. Good, just the pitches. Okay, let me stop you there right now. Now, when we repeat something with a comma between, we should take a breath. It's like you say to someone, hello, and they don't answer you, you go, hello, hello, hello. Yeah, you want them to respond, but there's always that comma between. So it should be, yay, repeat it, yeah. And then if you take a breath, you can do so much more with that F, because the fermata is over those 3 notes. Dum, dum, take your time on the F. Everyone's waiting to hear that sweet note. Yeah. So I would take a breath after that.
Speaking of time,
Sorry?
we're just about out of time. Just
Okay.
yeah.
That's fine. I'm almost done. Yeni. Good. Very good. That was great. Super. I just want to talk to you very shortly, just a second, about your cadenza. In coro. I would keep it simple, because if you go too high, it somehow steps out of the piece.
Okay.
Always keep it within the tessitura of the actual piece.
Okay.
Okay, that's the last thing I wanted to say. Good. Thank you so much. That was so much better. Thank you. Great.
Now we have David.
David Limon. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is David Limon, and I'm going to be singing for you Aus meinen großen Schmerzen, which roughly translates to From My Great Pains by Robert Franz.
Thank you.
Aus meinen großen Schmerzen mach ich die kleinen Lieder, die heben ihr klinget gefieder und flattern nach ihrem Herzen. Sie fanden den Weg zur Trauben, doch kommen sie wieder und klagen und wollen nicht sagen, was sie im Herzen
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. I don't know that song. That's very, very nice. Good. Okay. So first of all, let's work on the German. German is always, it's so tricky. There's so many rules that govern how we're supposed to be pronouncing things. One important thing is to make sure that we get those written out diphthongs clear. Aus, not aus, but aus. We have to go from the A to the U, right? Aus meinen großen, roll that R, großen Schmerzen. Use all the consonants you possibly can. That adds so much flavor to what you're singing. And of course, the word means pain. So it's Schmerzen. Yeah, you can really feel it in your chest. Mach ich die kleinen Lieder. You have to, when you have a word that starts with a vowel, you must use a little glottis on your vocal cords. Mach, finish the word, and then ich. You can't just say
Okay.
mach ich, but it's mach ich, die kleinen Lieder. Want to say that for me?
Mach ich die kleinen
Yes.
Lieder.
Great. Start from the beginning.
Okay. Aus meinen großen Schmerzen mach ich die kleinen Lieder.
Very good. I'll keep going. Die heben ihr klingend Gefieder.
Die heben ihr klingend Gefieder
Und flattern nach ihrem Herzen.
und flattern nach ihrem Herzen.
That's right. So even when we're singing a legato line, we still have to articulate the language correctly in front of that. And sometimes that even stops the sound, but that doesn't mean you're not continuing on the line. For instance, und flattern nach ihrem Herzen, rather than und flattern nach, und flattern nach. Okay, you get what I'm saying? Because of the double T, you have to get there quicker. It's a short vowel. Okay, keep going. I'll keep going. Sie fanden den Weg. When something ends in a G, it turns into a K.
Okay.
And it has to be quite sharp. Sie fanden den Weg zur Trauten. With pretty explosive T's, and always roll that R. Trauten.
Okay. Sie fanden den Weg zur Trauten.
Good. Doch kommen, double M, go to the M earlier, and you can also sing through that M because it's a sounded consonant. Doch kommen sie wieder und klagen.
Doch kommen sie wieder und klagen.
Und klagen und wollen, again, double L's, nicht sagen.
Okay. Und klagen und wollen nicht sagen.
Right, because of those two L's, the O vowel is more open. Wollen, oh.
Okay. Wollen.
Wollen, go earlier to the L's.
Wollen.
Yeah, a little bit more, sorry, I'm being picky, a little bit more open O vowel. Und klagen und wollen.
Und klagen und wollen nicht sagen.
Nicht sagen, right. Was, finish the word. Sie, start the new word with the, so it's a sharp S, and then a Z. So it's was sie im Herzen schauten.
Was sie im Herzen schauten.
Very good. So this is my whole procedure for learning a song. I'll give you my secret. Secret is you have to learn the words first. Because to be honest, the words are the hardest. It's not your language. You have to actually learn it. You have to learn how it sounds, how it feels to speak it. You have to learn what the words mean. You have to understand the emotion behind it. That's the hard work. It's the rational work that you use with your brain, yeah? And once you have the words memorized, and it's important to memorize them first. Don't just think you kind of know them. No, you have to memorize them so you can recite it like a poem. And then it sinks deeper and deeper and deeper into your subconscious that you could just, every time you want to sing it, you just, snap your fingers and there comes the text. Then you have to learn it. Oh, look at your doggy. That's a cute doggy.
he loves crashing voice lessons all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Then what you have to do is you have to speak the text to the rhythm. No singing yet. What you can do, what I always did, I would play the melody and speak it, in the rhythm that it's written. So in other words, aus meinen großen Schmerzen. So at that time, you're hearing the melody, it's sinking in. You don't even have to use your voice. Don't use your singing voice. Don't have to waste it learning the words and the rhythm. No, do that with your brain, until you've got that down pat. And then after that's done, then you use your musical brain to add the sound of your voice. And you've already heard the melody, so therefore it just kind of happens because you're a singer and you're a musician. That's the easy part. And then it's done. Then you know the song by memory.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really
Yeah.
efficient way to learn music. Otherwise, you're constantly using up your voice to learn stuff that you should be doing with your brain and not your voice.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Then you can
Yeah.
practice it. Then you can practice all the nuances and everything. But to learn it first, learn it with your rational brain. So
Okay.
let's do that. Let's do this process that you speak the text. I'll play the pitches for you, and just speak the
Okay.
text on the rhythm.
Aus meinen großen Schmerzen mach ich die kleinen Lieder, die heben ihr klingend Gefieder.
There's that.
Die
Hold on one second. That word is not ge feeder. It's ge
Okay.
feeder. That's the typical German a vowel or schwa sound. It's not a, it's e.
Okay.
Let's go against
Ge.
die heben. Die heben.
Die heben ihr klingend Gefieder
Good.
und flattern nach ihrem Herzen.
Good. Next page.
Sie fanden den Weg zur Trauten, doch kommen sie wieder und klagen und wollen nicht sagen, was sie im Herzen schauten.
Yeah. So you see, every time you do that, not using your singing voice, it sinks deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And then all you have to do is say, okay, I'm going to sing this France song, and out it comes. And you don't have to engage your actual brain anymore because it's already in, you've digested the song. Yeah, it becomes part of you. It's in your cells, just like blood and oxygen and everything. It lives inside of you. You'll never forget it because you've learned it. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning and do it with your tape. Now, one thing I would suggest, so many people think that because you're singing Lieder, you don't really have to sing that loud. You know, it's not so, it's just a song. But at the end of the day, you still have to fill the hall. And sometimes you sing a lead recital in a small place, and sometimes you sing it in a big place, like you're standing on the stage of Carnegie Hall giving a Liederabend for 2,800 people, and you're like, whoa, I can't just sing with my piano voice. I've got to sing, so to fill the hall. So practice, even though it says andante innig and dolce, you see all those crescendi going on.
Right.
That's
yes,
typical. That's typical romantic music. It means you do a crescendo and a deceleranto, and then you do a decrescendo and a deceleranto. So it's always like rushing up a mountain and then coming down the other side. Very much a landscape. So sing with your full voice. You can still sing sweetly, but don't sing so quietly that we're kind of, where's the voice? Show us your voice. Be generous with the sound that you're using. Okay, try it again.
Awesome.
Aus meinen großen Schmerzen mach ich die kleinen Lieder, die heben ihr klingend Gefieder und flattern nach ihrem Herzen. Sie fanden den Weg zur trauten, doch kommen sie wieder und klagen und wollen nicht sagen, was sie im Herzen schauten.
Very, very good. That was already so much better. How did you feel about that?
I felt like I had a stronger foundation, and when you said to fill up a hall, it kind of got me out of the mindset of singing in my living room and to pretend that there's like a big hall out in front of me. Because
Yeah.
as like we've all experienced this past year, singing indoors has probably made some sort of changes, but making that mental shift really grounds me. And speaking through the German at the beginning definitely made it more clear and precise, I would say.
Excellent. Very, very good. Look at this last word on measure 17. Try and not, what I'm hearing is sha. So you're already between an a and a u vowel. Stay on the a vowel, shouten. Go to the u with the last second so that you're not overforming this show. It's not there yet. Shouten, shouten. More an a vowel, and then go to the u a little bit later. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
What can you tell me? What operatic repertoire do you sing?
What operatic repertoire do I sing?
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm pretty versatile. I've sung a lot of Mozart. I've sung some Don Giovanni, and a little bit of well, putting on the show before COVID of Orpheus in the Underworld as Jupiter.
Oh, great. Okay, super. And what other arias do you sing? Do you sing like, do you sing Guglielmo or more Don Giovanni?
Some arias that I've sung, well, Madamina el Catalogo.
So
From
yeah, okay. Yeah, Leporello, okay.
Laporello.
Yeah,
And
right. Well, okay, as a bass, you've got to use that chest sound. You have to really fill this whole cavity with vibration. And you can do that in a song as well. Even if it's dolce, dolce doesn't necessarily mean volume. It means intent.
okay.
You're singing sweetly by intent. You can still be pretty loud while you're singing sweetly by intent. Yeah, because we don't,
Right.
again, we don't want to hold the voice back. The point about today is that we are losing our audience. They are slipping away from us because those were the older people that, I don't know, were interested in this kind of music. And there are you guys out there, but we're losing audience. We have to find a way to grab them by the shoulders and bring them back in. And the way to do that is to reach out to them. And if you're withholding your voice because it's a song, they're going to be turned off and start looking at their watches and saying, oh, I wish I'd went home and watched the football game instead, right? We've got to grab them somehow. So keep it interesting by being generous with the sound of your voice. Don't feel you have to withhold it. Yeah, reach out to them. Always try and keep your audience animated listening to you.
Okay.
Just I'm curious, do you have another piece that we could just touch on quickly? Do we have time, Wendy?
Oh, we have only about 2 minutes.
That's okay. I just want to hear a little bit bigger singing. Do you have something that you could offer me that's a little bit bigger?
Yeah, absolutely. I have In Years Defaced by Gerald Finzi.
Okay, so just go for it.
Okay.
In years defaced and lost, to satyr transport tossed, lit by a living love, the wilted my gain givings, then hoping things that could not be.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there just because we don't have a lot of time. All right, so you hear how pounding that piano is. You have to
Right.
match that, right? Don't let the piano overwhelm you. Make sure that you're always in front of the sound of the piano. So just, and I hear there's this bigger sound inside of you that's saying, let me out, please let me out. Go for it, not pushing, just letting
Right.
the sound out, being generous with the airflow so that the sound is transported out into the hall. Do you have any
Okay.
questions?
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. This has been very insightful.
Great, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. So
Thank
back to you, Wendy.
And now we have Alyssa.
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Alyssa Vasquez. I will sing Tu que digel sei cinta from Turandot by Puccini. Oh, but turn my speaker on first so you can hear it. There we go.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa. So, okay. Do you have, is this an accompanist accompaniment or is it something that someone's played for you?
No, this is something that my accompanist played for me.
Right. Okay. Because if you look at the the tempo marking, it says andantino. Is andantino quicker than an andante, or is it slower?
Andantino is it's slower, isn't it? Tino is smaller.
It's faster.
Oh, okay.
It's faster. If you say andantino allegretto, anything that is diminutive
Okay.
means not less, it means smaller, which means quicker,
Oh,
which means more agitato, has more movement. It says andantino mosso, and the tempo says here 69. I would have to get my metronome out. It just seems a little bit plodding for me, a little bit too slow, and also makes it harder for you to sing. It needs to just move so that you have easier breath control and that you feel maybe not panicked by how slow it is. I mean, if I were to sing it at that tempo, of course I would never sing this, but if I were to sing it, I would be frightened because it's so slow. It would scare me. So I would want to push it along. So I suggest when you work on this with your accompanist, perhaps a tick faster, which makes it easier for you. Okay, so let's go back and start at the beginning.
I do have a quicker accompaniment, but I was more familiar with this one, so I decided to use this one because I didn't want to last minute use one that I didn't know. So
doesn't matter, whichever you feel comfortable with. It doesn't really matter. It's fine.
I do have a quicker one.
Okay, it's up to you. Whichever one you want to use, it's fine. So again, as I said to the students yesterday, to the singers yesterday, I don't want to get really involved in people's techniques. That's not my job here. But I want to inspire you to perhaps give your voice a bit more space. Is that what you're working? Are you working on that with your teacher possibly?
Yeah. I tend to I tend to like do exactly what you're saying, not give it enough space.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. In America, generally the normal technical expectation of most singing teachers or singers is that the voice sounds bright. I suppose that must come from Broadway, where singers are singing lots of performances every week, and then they didn't have microphones. They just had to get away with the twang of their own voice to be over that loud percussive orchestra that they sang against. I don't really know the history of teaching in America. I should look into that. But it appears to me, I mean, as far as the Europeans are concerned, Americans always sound overly bright. For instance, who's the most famous or the most popular opera singer today in the world?
Renee Fleming?
Close. Anna Netrebko.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anna Netrebko sort of knocked Renee off her pedestal, which is fine. I mean, that happens to all of us. It's just that Anna is now internationally, you know, the Russian descent and being very hugely big in Europe and also very big in America. And Renee has now stopped singing opera, so that's fair enough. So have you ever heard her sing on YouTube?
Yeah, that was actually the reference that I used for this song.
Okay, very good. Does she sing in the front?
No, she sang it a little darker.
Quite a lot darker. She sings very, very dark, but she still sings very sweetly. This is the appeal of her voice, that she manages to spin the voice so sweetly and so beautifully, but she's all back in that backspace, in the soft palate, in the pharynx, not down the back of the throat. That's not what I mean. She just opens up the cavity in the back where we snore, that Darth Vader sort of sound that we make in the back. If you can sing in there, rather than trying to bring your voice to a point or to your forehead or to the front where you can listen to it, don't listen. Sing on trust. Sing on fantasy. You know what you want to sound like. So just tell your voice to do that and she'll do it for you. That's the beauty of singing. It has nothing to do with us mechanically doing stuff here. It's up to us to feed our voice with our fantasy. And then she responds to that, basically. And we feed her then with air, and that's it. That's vocal technique. It's all done, basically. Okay, so if we could move back around 8 inches, your hand is generally 8 inches wide. So if you can take the sound from your front of your face, 8 inches back, that's where you should be singing, way back there.
Okay.
And it's not that you're darkening the voice, it's just you're giving it space.
All right.
Okay, shall we try it again?
With the accompaniment?
Yeah, please, that would be great. Wow, how was that?
I liked it.
It was very different.
Yeah, it felt different.
Did it feel easier?
Yes, it did.
Well, that's because we're not trying to trap the sound in the bone of the front of our face, where it actually gets stuck. And it puts, by being stuck in the front of our face, it puts pressure on our larynx because the sound can't get out. We need to give our voices an escape hatch. And it's just like a submarine. You open the top and out comes the sailor. Yeah, that's what we want with our voice. Well, let's look at it this way. Your voice is like a fireplace. Yeah, you've got the nice logs and all the fire burning. It's wonderful. You don't want the smoke in the living room where you're watching Netflix. No, you want the smoke to come out through the chimney, out through the top of the house. So you don't have smoke in the living room. So where is the chimney? It's behind the fireplace. It's up the back. It's like the smoke going up a flue. That's how your voice escapes, not coming out the face, not coming out the fireplace, up the flue of the chimney. Always singing up the back stairs, not the front stairs, the back stairs. Yeah, so that we're constantly singing on a water wheel. That means you take a breath, and here comes the voice over the top of your head. Then you take another breath, and here comes the voice, and that process never stops. And then that way your voice is completely balanced. You have the brightness of the front, which is then led into that backspace, which then expands the sound of what's in the front. It expands it, gives it more overtones, gives it more beauty. A darker sound is generally always more beautiful than a very bright, thin, pressed sound. It just gives it more blossom, more bloom. And then you just let that sound out. All the work is done on the breath. You take a huge breath, you sit on it, and out comes the voice all by itself. And that's what you did right now. That was great.
Yeah, that felt really good because, okay, so my, like, historically speaking, I tend to like push my chest voice a little. So that's why we were working so hard on bringing it forward. So we were, I guess, kind of nervous to make it darker. So the placement of bringing it darker back here versus pushing the chest voice felt great.
Yeah, because there's no pressure anywhere. The pressure is simply on the breath, but not on any physical part of your body. That's the whole point. We want to leave this open. We want to leave the larynx free. We want to leave the chest open. We want to leave the soft palate open and flexible so that you can send the sound wafting through that open membrane in the back. Yeah. And the thing about it is the higher you sing, the further back you need to go. It's just like opening French doors behind you. All the sound goes out the back and it just goes out into the hall and everyone goes, how does she do that? Where's the sound coming from? I promise you, every time I stood next to Renee Fleming on stage, and I did that a lot, I was very lucky, I would always find myself going, how does she do that? Because the voice came from somewhere else than her mouth. It was like, where did that come from? It was miraculous. And all the good singers, basically all of them sing like that the voice is not here in the front. The voice is coming from somewhere else. Yeah. And that sound that you were making now is fantastic. And that's what you need for this repertoire. You can't be singing with a bright sort of, stuck voice in the front. It needs all the space in the world. This bigger spinto repertoire. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt great.
Well, that's the important thing. If it's easy, it's right. If it's hard, it's wrong. It's that simple. Okay, can you tell me what other repertoire you sing? Just curious.
So I've done like 3 Puccini arias. I was before COVID, I didn't get a chance to perform it. I was Gretel in Hansel and Gretel.
Mm-hmm.
I do lots of art songs. I like lieder a lot. I didn't pick a lieder for this, but I probably should have.
No, but this was very good to work on. I think this is very helpful for you. All right, Wendy, do I have a little bit of time left?
Yes, we have 3 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Let's just do one exercise. I love this exercise. It's just octave jumps. And you start here on an E vowel, and then you open to the ah on the top, relaxing your jaw, getting your tongue out of the way from the back of your throat, just letting it fall, and opening up all that space and let all the sound happen in your cathedral inside of your head. E, ah, E. Okay, take a big breath. Good. Can you connect the notes?
Oh yeah.
That's the way. Give it so much space. All that space in the back. Just open up and let all the sound out the back. Try it again. Good. Take a big breath. Now push down on the breath. Down. That's good. Take a breath. Use your diaphragm to push down. Down. Yeah. Great. Take a big breath. There it comes. Breathe. So you see, you're not making your voice dark. You're just giving it room.
Yeah.
It's what's better, singing in a broom closet or a big church?
Big church.
Yeah, because it's got air all inside of it. You only have to whisper and it all goes boom out into the church. That's what you're trying to create in the back of your throat, in the pharynx, in the soft palate, this open space so that the sound can swirl around and become exponentially bigger, more overtones, more trajectory out into the hall. Yeah, did that feel good?
Yeah.
It's really important though that you have an overabundance of air in your lungs, and then you use your diaphragm to push down on what feels like the breath in your tummy. It's not, it's in your lungs, but it feels like it's in your tummy. You just push down on it gently but firmly, and you keep holding it down. And by doing that, the air leaves through the vocal tract by itself. You don't do the singing, the air does the singing. Yeah, because as I've been saying to everyone, you are the instrument and the player at the same time. So you're not the singer, you have to play your instrument.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so I would practice these octave jumps and literally just let the voice go on the air that you're pushing down and away with. Yeah, it's just letting it out. Sounds super. It's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Great, thank you. Okay, Wendy.
All right. Next, we have Elizabeth.
Hello.
Great. Hello, hi Elizabeth. So you are going to sing Notre Amour.
Yes, I am.
Great, super.
All right. Notre amour est chose légère, comme les parfums de vent prononcés de la fougère, murmurés respirant le vent. Notre amour est chose légère. Notre amour est chose charmante, comme les chansons du matin, au murmure de ses lamantes, où vibre la soirée ardente. Notre amour est chose charmante. Notre amour est chose sacrée, comme les mystères de votre soleil dans mes pleurs, où les silences ont des voix. Notre amour est chose sacrée. Notre amour est chose infinie, comme les chemins des couchants, où la mer aussi réunit s'endort sous les soleils penchants. Notre amour est chose éternelle, comme tout ce qu'un Dieu vainqueur a touché des feux des soleils, comme tout ce que le vainqueur. Notre amour, notre amour est chose éternelle, est chose
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. I love this song. It's such a great song. Okay. So what are these notes? They're all 16ths and 8ths, basically. So essentially, there's not really time to vibrate on most of them. A couple of them, but not really most of them, because there's two, they go by too fast. They act as its own vibrato as such. So I would concentrate on just getting the notes out rather than trying to sing a legato, vibrato filled line. It doesn't apply to this kind of a song. It may apply to, let's say, Du bist die Ruhe or something else like that, or Gretchen am Spinnrad, but here it goes by so quickly, and each of the notes has its own syllable. Yeah, so would you consider just singing the notes? For instance, Notre amour est chose légère. Did I vibrate? No.
I'll give it my best shot, sure.
There's no time. Comme les parfums que le vent prend au cime de la fougère. It's all basically like like a recitative turned into a song, but it's really still recitative.
Okay.
It's not really singing. It's more talking. Yeah. Try it again. We'll just maybe do verse by verse, but let's experiment a little bit and see what we come up with.
Okay. Notre amour est chose légère, comme les morts prononcés de la fougère, pour qu'on les respire au revers. Notre amour est chose légère.
Okay, great. So how did that feel?
That felt much easier.
It is easier because you're not struggling with an overabundance of movement in your larynx when you're actually trying to concentrate on the individual stretches for the pitches. It kind of cancels out the whole idea of singing a clean tone when you're invading it with too much vibrato when there's no time to vibrate. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense.
So it's just basically you're just singing the pitches and then you have time on légère. There you have time to vibrate. But when you've got all these quick, it's like trying to vibrate on coloratura passages. There's no time to vibrate there. And if you try, it just gets muddy. We don't hear the actual notes. So that's the same thing here. This is basically like written out recitative coloratura. Yeah, so there's just no time. Let's go. Des choses légères. Let's just do the top of page 37. Page 37.
Okay. Notre amour est chose légère. Notre amour est chose charmante, comme les chansons d'Irlanda. On y regrette ses moments, on vivra la soirée certaine. Notre amour est chose charmante. Notre amour est chose sacrée, comme les mystères de votre sang. Notre amour est chose sacrée, notre amour est chose infinie, comme les chemins débouchants, où la mer s'éveille, s'endort sous les soleils marchants. Notre amour est chose éternelle, comme tout ce qu'attire la mer accrochée qui fait des soleils, comme tout ce qui veut ta cœur. Notre amour est chose éternelle, est chose éternelle.
Okay, very good. That was already so much better. This B natural here at the end. For me, that doesn't have nearly as much interest and tension as the
Okay.
that seventh is somehow more, it's kind of more corny, but it's also for me more beautiful. This is for me too strident
Oh,
because
yeah.
we're talking about love, you know. That has more of a caress to it, more sensitivity, more sensualness. Seventh is always very sensual, yeah. So I would, and it's what he's actually written is the A natural.
Oh, okay.
Was it A natural? What is the A natural?
I memorized it a long time ago, so I forgot which note was big and which one was small.
Yeah, the B is B natural is small and the A is actually what's written. And it just I just think with the bass
Okay.
sounds prettier. Just try the last phrase, A chose éternelle.
Can you give me an A? E, just okay. Est chose éternelle.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. It's my taste. You can do whatever you want, but I personally find it's prettier that way, I think. Okay. So when you sing a lead recital, have you done that very often? A whole recital? Singing a whole song recital?
Song recital, I have not done that yet.
All right, so let me tell you what it's like. It's pretty scary because you're all alone. It's you and your accompanist, and you're the boss, and you're the one looking at the audience, and you're the one who has to make enough sound to be heard throughout the entire program. And very often in the first half, let's say you have a group of 5 Schubert songs, and then a group of 7 Richard Strauss songs, and some of them pretty big, like let's say Cecilia or whatever. Yeah. And then you have a 20-minute pause, and then you come back on stage and you have another half hour of singing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they expect you to sing 2 or 3 or maybe 4 encores. So you've been at it for, kind of like 2 hours, just you. And then they expect you to go out to dinner with them after the concert.
All right.
Yes, they do, because you're the entertainment, and they expect you to go out with 20 people to a swanky restaurant. It's already 11 o'clock and everyone sits down and you eat and they order wine and everyone gets excited, and they expect you to tell lots of stories about conductors and colleagues and everything and your travels and where you've been. And then at 4 o'clock you get home and your flight is at 7 a.m. So you basically don't get any sleep. You get to the airport, you're exhausted, and you go off to the next recital.
Oh, boy.
That's what it's like. It's pretty scary. So you have to find ways to make it as easy and economical as possible. And I always found the best way to do that is to breathe more often
Okay.
in a song. It keeps you buoyant and relaxed and always filled with oxygen. And that oxygen, just like any athlete, that oxygen carries you through. If an athlete is running a sprint and he's not breathing, he's not going to make it. Yeah, you've got to keep the breath going. So and they've done this in this edition. They put in little commas. Take those breaths. They're good breaths. I think most singers would take them. Da 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 dum da 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 dum. That's that phrase. And then the next one, da 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 dum da 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 da. Twice as long. Take another breath. Da 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 da. Take a breath. Da 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 da. That way you're always filling yourself with breath and you never get tired. So you just keep going on this water wheel, on this wave of breath, in and out, in and out, in and out. Okay? That's how I would think of this. Okay, do you have any questions?
Do you have any suggestions for getting a good breath quickly? Because I find it easier to breathe in bigger spaces. So.
Right, okay. I always suggest opening your mouth to a relaxed ah position. And the important thing is to get the back of your tongue out of the way of the throat. So there's no point in going, we can't get any breath in. You have to make the back space open. And then you can act like a vacuum cleaner. You just suck it in. There it is. It's done. That was a catch breath, a big catch breath, a really big one. Yeah, you can go, or you can go. It's that feeling of being surprised, like all of a sudden a tiger walks into the room and you gasp. You go, there's a lot of air in your lungs because that's fight or flight. Yeah, that's that human response of, oh my God. Yeah, I've got to protect myself. So just constantly at the end of phrases, get off the notes quicker, open your mouth, get your tongue out of the way and suck it in and then keep going.
Right.
So it's notre amour est chose légère, comme les. You see how I did that? You let go, open your throat, the support lets go, the vocal cords open, and you can get tons of air in really quickly before you start to sing again.
Okay.
Want to try it like that? Just the first verse.
Oh, sure.
Notre amour est chose légère, comme les morceaux que les verbes dans ciel de nos fougères, pour qu'on les respire au revent. Notre amour est chose légère.
Okay, how was that?
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, and make sure also, especially on the first breath, you have all the time in the world. Take your time. Don't ever breathe in upbeats. That's what chorus singers do. The chorus breathes the way the conductor does the upbeat, and everyone goes, and then they start to sing. We have to breathe at least 2 beats, if not more, before we start singing when we have the chance. You have to build a good foundation at the very beginning. Get lots and lots of air in your lungs that will carry you through those moments where you can't get so much in your lungs.
Okay.
Okay? Good. Wendy, how are we doing?
Great. We have a few more minutes.
Couple of more minutes. Okay. One last thing I'd like to say is this is a song because it has so many words. Don't sing it pedantically, which means don't be perfect.
Okay.
Be sloppy. Hold on, I've got to switch out my.
You're going dead.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can.
All right, great. It takes a second to switch in. Because there's so many, each note has its own syllable. So the point is to be slightly sloppy about it. The less the two of you are together, the better.
Okay.
Try not to be together. Try and create musical tension. This is the wonderful thing about Richard Strauss, is because the music is so crazy. It's like being on a roller coaster. Yeah. There's no way you can be sitting next to someone and have the exact same experience being on the roller coaster. No. Your accompanist is next to you screaming wildly and the hands are flailing about and you're screaming at the top of your lungs and everyone's freaking out. But no one does it the same. They do it differently. So create that musical tension by not being together. So the piano plays very steadily, and you go, Notre amour est chose légère. Basically like Edith Piaf singing. How Edith Piaf, that famous French chanson singer, would sing a song.
Okay.
Look her up. She's very interesting. Comme les parfums que le vent prend au cime de la fougère, pour qu'on les respire en rêvant. Rather, pour qu'on les respire en rêvant. Notre amour est chose légère. Notre amour est chose légère. Always on the rhythm of the language. Okay, so find someone who speaks French and ask them to read an over-the-top version of this poem and then copy that rhythm of the language. Because if French is the last language that is pedantic. It's on the breeze. It's always with greatest freedom. Okay? That's rule of thumb for romantic music, is not to be together.
Okay.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. And now we have Guillermo.
Hello. Hi there.
I am Guillermo Kimolent, and I will be singing O Colombina from Pagliacci by Ruggero Leoncavallo.
Super.
Oh, Colombina, al tenero fido arlequín, que ha de vichin. Ti te chiamando e sospirando spetta al poverin. La tua faceta mostrami che ho baciar senza tardar. La tua boccuccia, amor mi crucia e mi sta tormentar. E mi sta tormentar. Oh, Colombina, schiudimi il finestrin, che a te vicin, ti te chiamando e sospirando il povero arlecchin. Che a te vicin, Arlequín.
That was great, Guillermo. Thank you. Wonderful, great singing. Okay, so you have a pretty big voice there. You need a lot of breath underneath of that, so that you're in no way pushing on your throat. We always need to keep the throat open, the larynx relaxed, because it's ready to do the work that you want it to do. So try not to let the tongue, the root of the tongue, get in the way of the work by going, "Rrr." Sometimes there's a little bit of a teeny, teeny, tiny squeeze going on. "Rrr." Rather, always keep the throat way open, yeah? And that happens by the intake of breath. Throat's already open. Once you've taken a breath, the throat is in the perfect position. Don't change it by letting the tongue get in the way. Okay, same thing what I just said to the singer before you. Oh, Colombina tenero de la gagan. Completely, it's just like you're playing guitar in Mexico. You're sitting down there in some square, having a great time, drinking a margarita, you know, and you're a little bit woozy and it's hot. You're just like, da, 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 da. Be completely free about it, yeah? Totally free. Don't be so, or try not to be so perfect about it. Just sing however the language comes to you, okay? And I would suggest, because of the size of your voice, take bigger breaths, really take big breaths. And then all you have to do, you know what the word apoggio means, don't you?
Say that again.
You know what the word apoggio means. Okay, that's fine. I'll tell you what it means. It's an Italian word, which means to lean. It's actually the Italian word for support. Okay. So when Mr. Pavarotti taught his students, he says you have to use your appoggio, you have to lean on the breath. And in order to lean on the breath, you need to have breath inside of your lungs. So that's why your job is to go, and now your diaphragm or your groin muscles go, and they sit on top of it. And that's that pressurized breath that you then sing with. Okay, I think your picture's a little frozen, but maybe it'll catch up. Okay. Do we have any control over that? There you go. You're back.
You know, it was happening a lot. I've been having a lot of issues with the video.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. You're back. Okay, let's try it once again. Take about 3 times as much breath as you generally do, as you think you need, and see if we can overfill the lungs, which gives you automatic appoggio, automatic support. All you have to do is then just sit on it like your voice is on a magic carpet, and out it comes by itself.
All right, we'll try to get on that magic carpet then.
Yeah.
Colombina tenero fido arlequín, chia te vicin, ti te chiamando e sospirando aspetta il poveri. La tua facetta mostrami che ho baciar senza tardar. La tua boccuccia, amor mi crucia e mi sta a tormentar, e mi sta a tormentar. Oh, Colombina, schiudimi il finestrin, chia te vicin, di te chiamando e sospirando il povero arlequin. Chia te vicin, Arlequin!
Great. Okay, your high notes are fantastic. They're wonderful. Look, if we go back to page, do you have your music there in front of you? Let's go back to page 2. If you look at the third system, it says la tua boccuccia, la tua boccuccia, and then there's a pause. So take a breath. Don't sing over those rests. He's done that to help you. Amor mi cruccia, take a breath. Amor mi da 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 da. Otherwise, you're going to be stressed to get through those longer phrases.
Gotcha.
So he's done that on purpose so that you can actually take a catch breath, and it just keeps you going, keeps you going. It's like the ever ready bunny. You just keep going and going and going because you've had a chance to take a breath there. All right. Can you actually show me that you're taking a breath?
Sure. Right from there, from the
from every single phrase. In other words, when you start, just before you start to sing, your mouth should be open and your tongue should be out of the way, and you should be sucking up all the air in the room. Oh, you see, you've already signaled to the audience that you're about to sing, and then they are prepared to receive that sound. If you just go, oh, everyone falls off their chair. Yeah, has to be. Yeah, you've got to help the audience to understand what's going on, because most of them don't. Yeah, so take a breath. Oh, and then you start out of that open space.
Okay, you want me to start it again from the beginning?
Start from the beginning. We don't need the accompaniment. Let's just do phrase by phrase.
Okay.
So show me the breath.
Colombina tenero fido arlequín,
Yeah, what you need to do is you need to open your mouth and get your tongue down. You went, arlequín. Yeah, you can't breathe like that. You have to go, you have to open the backspace. That's right, that's the breath. Try it again.
Colombina tenero fido arlequín,
Okay, it was better, but if you were to watch yourself in the camera, you would see that you breathe like this. The tongue was high in the back. You need to, in a split second, get the tongue to drop down with your jaw to open. So it goes, arlequín, because you're on an E vowel, yeah? Now switch to an A to breathe, and then keep singing. You're saying kiate. It's eate, isn't it? Eate.
Oh yeah, it is eate, Vicky.
It's eate, which is more open than ki. Okay, try it again. So take the first note and make sure you open the mouth to breathe, and make a dark space. Look at yourself in the camera and watch to see if it's dark inside.
Colombina tenero fido arlequín,
It's better. Take some practice. Open your mouth, get the tongue down.
Dite chiamando e sospirando spetta il poverin.
Good. Open the mouth, tongue out of the way.
La tua facetta mostrami che devo baciar senza tardar.
Yeah, so you see, hold on. That was much better. That note, those high notes were so much fuller and more beautiful and more powerful because you took the time to make the space to take the air in.
Okay.
You have to always think that I am singing on a water wheel. The air comes in, the air goes out. The air comes in, the air goes out. Always this exchange of different gases. We have the oxygen coming in and the carbon dioxide going out.
Okay.
Yeah. And we sing on the exhale, which is toxic air. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I guess I just never thought about the way I breathe in, because it was always trying to control like the way I release the air. But I guess I never thought about how breathing that way would open up so much more, because it even makes it more resonant, I feel.
Of course, because you are actually the intake of breath in this position is opening the throat automatically. And you get the maximum amount of breath into your lungs, which we're trying to accomplish. We want to over-pressurize the lungs, not just get enough air. We want to get extra air so that we have automatic support. It makes it so much more economical and effortless to sing like that, because you actually aren't doing anything. It's the breath doing all the work. Yeah, and then you can trust it, and then you just, that's what I mean by the magic carpet. Then you just coast along on that breath. You don't have to do anything else. You just
feels like
coast.
less work.
Yeah, you're like on the wave. You're like a beach boy. You're hanging out in the wave all the time. It's so easy. Let's go. Let's try that senza. Senza. Take a big breath. Mouth open, tongue out of the way.
Senza
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing anything. You're just, the air is playing your instrument and you're just letting it out. And you're going, who's doing that? Is that me singing? I can't tell. I don't feel anything. That's the way it should be. Keep going. La tua bocca. Take a breath.
La tua boccuccia, amor mi crucia, mi sta tormentar.
Okay, hold on. Don't forget to breathe. La tua boccuccia, let go, breathe. Amor si crucia, let go, breathe. Amor da da. Otherwise, you're gonna get tighter and tighter and tighter. You have to constantly puff off the breath. Take a breath there.
La tua boccuccia, amor mi crucia, mi sta tormentar, mi sta tormentar. Oh, Colombina, schiudimi il finestrin, chiadevi di te chiamando e sospirando il povero Arlecchin. A te vicin, Arlecchin.
Yeah, you can hold that high note for 20 minutes.
Yes.
Because you're not doing anything. All you're doing is sitting on the breath and letting the sound out. This is the thing. We have to finally understand that it's not us doing the singing. I wouldn't know what to do in my throat to make those sounds happen. I don't know. I just hear them and I tell my voice, sing that, please. And she goes, sure, give me the breath and I'll do it. That's what should actually, literally, that's what has to happen. And in that way, you're constantly rejuvenating yourself with oxygen. You're keeping your throat protected and relaxed. And the larynx is doing exactly what it's set up to do. Okay, do you have any questions?
None so far.
Okay, did that feel better, what we've just been working on now? Does that help you?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely felt like the air was spinning a little bit better. And then I typically have a hard transition going from higher notes to my lower register, but
you're not alone.
Breathing that way helped. I feel like it helped a little bit in moving along.
Right. It's always harder for sopranos and tenors to go from higher sounds down to lower sounds. That's happens to all of us. But it all has to do with making sure that you don't get in the way of the voice's understanding of the registers that you're using. The voice knows what to do. She's programmed to do that. She's like hardware. You have to feed her the software. That's your job. And not to get in the way of the hardware. Don't go messing with the hardware. Your computer won't work anymore. Yeah, let the computer do what it's programmed to do. And the voice is ready. I try and liken it to an automatic car. I mean, here in Europe, people drive with stick shift and everything, and it's so complicated with the foot and the clutch and the driving. And you've got, your dog is next to you, and you've got a Coke, and your telephone's falling on the floor, and everything's a mess. And it's so scary and hard to drive that way. And you always think you're going to screw up the clutch and everything. It's much better having an automatic car, right? All you have to do is put it into drive and step on the gas or put on the brake. Done. The rest of it is free and easy. But you see, that's what your voice is. Your voice is an automatic car. It knows exactly what to do. And if you get in the way of that, you start messing around with the gears, the car's going to completely freeze up and freak out and not go anywhere. You have to put in the right, you put in the gasoline, turn it on, put it into drive, and off you go. It's the same thing. We have to trust our voices that they know what to do. Yeah, we feed it the gas, which is the air, and we tell the car where to go, the navigation. That's the musical information. Off you go. No questions asked. Yeah, so think of it that way, that as long as you are doing the job of providing the air and the information, the rest happens automatically.
Yeah, I have to let go of trying to control it. Because for the longest time, I started off as like a saxophone player. So for me, it was very much like fingering to get the pitch. And I feel like sometimes I do things to sort of feel where the pitches are, and sometimes I have trouble with creating a line because of how much control I want to give it. But thinking about it this way, I feel like will help me do that better.
Well, this is the thing. It's better to be out of control as far as I'm concerned, because by the time you've sung a note, it's too late. You can't change it. You've sung it. It's already out in the hall. So what's the point? It's better to do the work ahead of time and to know how you want it to sound, and then let the voice take that information and run with it. And then you go, hey, that was easy, no problem. And then it's also much more enjoyable. You have much more fun doing it.
Yes.
Because it's not as hard. Okay, Wendy, how are we doing?
We're just about out of time with
Okay.
Guillermo.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That was super.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. And next we have Caitlin.
So, hello, Caitlin. Where are you?
Hello.
There you are. Hello. Hi.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Withers, and today I will be performing Porge Amor from Mozart's Le Nozze di Figaro.
Great.
Qualche
Very good. That was beautiful, lovely. Thank you. Okay, so what's the predominant vowel?
O.
Oh, exactly. So can we find a better mouth position for the O vowel? Right now, I'm seeing a bit of a square mouth. It's like pa rather than po, which is round. And an O is round, obviously. What we're trying to do is we're trying to elongate the voice so we have more of a slight trumpet mouth. And that just makes the instrument longer, which makes it easier to project. So especially you start with O, and then you the O mi rende mio tesoro, O mi. If you can get the mouth always in that slightly trumpeted position and see how that takes the pressure off of your throat. Otherwise, the jaw is too involved in holding on to support the sound. So let's just start the aria again.
With accompaniment?
Yeah, sure. So I'm curious, did you find that made a difference?
Yes.
Because what happens is when you get this longer tube, it sets up this incredibly vertical, stretched sound that just has so much more weight behind it and trajectory behind it. It just goes and goes and goes. And it looks like you're not doing anything. Did it feel easier?
Yes, definitely.
And did you like the sound of it?
Yes.
Yeah, I prefer that. I think that's much better. Okay, let's talk a little about, guys, I'm hearing an echo. Do you guys hear that too?
No, I'm not hearing an echo.
Okay, this is just me. It doesn't matter. All right, let's talk a little bit about Mozart phrasing. Mozart is not yet a classical composer. He's still a Baroque composer. So the Baroque rules adhere to this. And we're in 2/4, larghetto, which doesn't mean really super slow. It just means basically moderato. So when we don't see any phrasing written with a slur, then it's legato. But when you see a slur, the first note of that group is important and the second note goes away. So it would be dum, 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 dum. That E flat is the most important note. Dum, 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 da, dum. The da, da is no longer important. It's there, but it's not important. Well, let me check the page. And then this is all legato. Dum, dum. And now da, 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 dum, 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 da, dum, da. Those little sighing things, you're saying "Imie sospir," my hopes. And what happens when you hope? You go, oh, oh, you're hoping for something, yeah? So that basically tells the audience exactly the emotion that you're feeling as the countess. Let's just try those first couple of phrases. We don't need the accompaniment. We can just do it without.
Okay.
Yeah, that was beautiful. In other words, very often with Mozart, the high note is not the important note. It's yeah. Now this is a result of that. Dum, da, dum, da, dum. Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. Just enough, but subtly different than the other time. Let's keep going and then use all these phrases. Dum, 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 da, dum, da, 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 dum, da, da, dum, da. The last ones are legato, but those little groupings have more of what they say in German, Abphrasieren. You let go of the phrase. Okay? Very good. Same thing here. Okay, let's say you have a conductor like Simon Rattle. Simon has a great sense of humor. He's very funny and very fresh and just witty and incredibly fun to work with. And if you were to sing it like that, he'd say, can you give me a different version just for fun? And you have to have 5 other options that you can offer him. Yeah, so you can do one where you speed up. Then sing pianissimo at the top note, even though if there's a forte there, ignore it. Do something different. Yeah, make it special, make it different. So try doing a decrescendo going upwards. Yes. You see, I find that infinitely more beautiful because you're saying, oh, let me die. You're not saying, I want to die. You're not saying. The whole point of this first aria, the whole point of this is to set the countess up as a victim. Yeah, she feels so sorry for herself. And she wants the audience to feel sorry. She wants Susanna to feel sorry. She's just like, oh, my husband doesn't love me anymore. Why doesn't he love me? She's always got her hand on her head and she's always moaning. And she doesn't have to do anything. She just lies around eating chocolates, and Susanna's running around killing herself. And she just lies around feeling sorry for herself. Okay, so if you do it that way, it's much more touching. We feel her genuine pain. Yeah, and that's important, that it's not just superficial, but that we see her as a real person. Let's try that from the Oh mi lascia al memoria. Right? Try not to do a little push at the end. Just let the R go away. Mori. Let it disappear into nothing. Like you've slipped away from the planet. Oh, Vila. Yes, good. Okay, so Mr. Simon Rattle or Mr. Claudio Abado or somebody else will ask you, okay, can you do decrescendo going up to that G as well? Da, 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 da. It just gives it so much more elegance and sweetness than if we take the whole weight of the voice up there. Mozart always wants us to create a more homogeneous sound by letting the high notes be less loud, because they're going to be louder anyway. And by being less loud, you balance out the voice better. Want to try that phrase?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, a little trick that I used to see Renee and Kiri Tekanawa and all the great countesses do was when they went up and sang O mi rendil mio, they sang it with a little smile on their face, which shows their pain at the same time their cynicism. You're saying, my love. And you know that he's already wanting to get into the bed of Susanna. So there's this wry irony underneath it, that you feel the pain, but you do want him back. Yeah, so it shows lots of different parts of your character. So, O mi rendil, that little smile. Sorry, can you do me a favor? Can you lift your cheeks just a tiny bit? Il mio, that little singer smile where we go, we smell a rose, that sweet little smile. That's right. Can I ask you, what singers do you listen to? For instance, when you listen to this aria?
This one, Kiri Takanawa or Renee Fleming, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever listened to some of the older singers like Gundula Janowitz?
No.
I would suggest that. It's quite an experience. She has a very quick vibrato. It's similar to yours, a little bit faster even than yours. And she sings it incredibly slowly with the most ridiculous breath control and the most amazing beauty. She almost doesn't open her mouth. Her eyes are closed. You can find it on YouTube. I think it's in the Vienna Staatsoper with Scholte or something. It's like 1962 or something, but it's really worth watching because it's the most incredible, serene and calm and introverted performance. It's really very special. Okay, do you have any questions?
I guess for this piece, the biggest issue is that breath support. Do you have any advice for maintaining that legato line? Like, for example, that omi la, that's where I have the most issues maintaining that breath. I'm not sure if you have any advice for maintaining that line well.
You can always nudge the conductor along, just speed it up a little bit. No one's saying that you can't do that. It creates, again, that dramatic tension and that you're not being pedantic and strict in tempo. You're bringing them along with you. And also, again, opening your mouth to breathe rather than going, you get breath inside, but not nearly as much as if you go, that just opening the back of the throat and just feeling it suck in there. And then you have that to sit on. And while you're singing those phrases, have the feeling that you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Not that you're pushing the breath up. You just sit on the breath and you expand as much as you can. And when you're done, you let go and the breath rushes in again. Yeah, always repeat that cycle. Good. Wendy, you're welcome. Wendy, how are we doing?
Well, we're about at time for the questions and answers. Adam, do we have some questions that have appeared in the chat?
Yes, we do. I've got a few questions that have been sent in so far, and the chat has just been opened now for people to send me more questions. So feel free to type those up and I'll try and read them out. We do have one question from Sophie, who asks, how do you push through nerves and push through lack of familiarity with either being on stage or new techniques? And how do you have tips on either commanding a space and developing stage presence and knowing what will be true for you as a performer?
Okay, 4 different questions. I'll try and answer them all as concisely as possible. First thing is you have to build up confidence. And the way to build up confidence is to appreciate yourself when you practice and when you perform. In other words, when it goes well, you take that good feeling and you put it in a bank account somewhere. You just tuck it away and leave it there. And the next time you sing well, either practicing or in a performance, you put that in that same bank account. And after a while, you realize you've compiled a whole lot of extra cash that you didn't know that you actually had. And then you can sing on the interest and you don't have to dip into your cash anymore to sing. So that you're constantly replenishing that feeling of being confident and actually liking yourself, not doubting yourself all the time. We singers have such a tendency to beat ourselves up. Why? Why should we do that? You know, everyone else is going to beat us up, so don't let them. Put yourself in a nice pink bubble, appreciate yourself. And I don't mean in the sense of, oh, I'm the best. That's not what I mean. I mean that you love yourself, you trust yourself, and you like the way you sing, and you like the sound of your voice, and you believe in that. And then no one can hurt you. How many times have I seen, for instance, going into rehearsals of, let's say, Marriage of Figaro, and you get there and you've got a pretty powerful conductor and you know the guy, you've worked with them before and you're kind of, you know, on friendly terms with him, but he knows he can't be nasty to you in any way. And then along comes the little Barbarina. It's her first time singing and she wants to please everyone. She wants to make everyone happy and she bends over backwards and she's so nice to everyone. And the conductor goes, ha, 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 ha. She's my first prey. And out come the knives. And he makes her cry in the first rehearsal. How often have I seen that? And so that girl needs to have built up a little bit better confidence that when she gets there to her first job, she's not going to be so vulnerable that anybody, colleagues, conductor, person sitting at the portier, that people can't hurt you. That's really important. And when you're in that bubble, then you won't be nervous. There are no nerves because no one can hurt you. You are only sharing and you don't feel any pain coming back. You only feel gratitude because you're being generous. So I would say it all boils down to number one, generosity, and number two, trust. Those two things. Those are the things you actually have to practice. Not so much singing technique. That happens all by itself. You have to be generous. You have to be loving and caring of your audience, of the music, of the text, and you have to trust yourself. And once you reach that level, nothing's going to hurt you. So you're safe.
Thank you. And here's a question from Linda, who asks, what words of advice would you have for the young singer to be better equipped in dealing with the physical and vocal demands of singing over an orchestra?
Again, it all comes down to breathing. My very first experience on stage, an agent heard me sing in church here in Salzburg. I was singing in Mass, Sunday Mass, in the Franziskanerkirche. And he came up to me afterwards and he said, oh, you have a lovely voice. I have an audition for you in Darmstadt in Germany. It's the B Opera House, a good opera house. He said, get on the train, get up there and sing whatever you know. And I knew 2 arias. That's all I knew because I studied lead. And I sang and they took me. And 3 weeks later, I was an opera singer. I had no clue. I had never had any operatic scenic training. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a hard piece, Anna in Lustige Weiber von Windsor, with dialogue and acting. And I only had like a week's rehearsal. It was a revival, so there was not a full production. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I just did it. I said, I don't care. No one can hurt me because I'm the underdog. I'm helping them. So I'll do the best I can, and that's all I can do. And it worked out great. So, and the first thing I learned was you've got to breathe when you're on stage. The orchestra is loud. I'm not breathing enough. Take bigger breaths and take more often breaths. That's probably the most important thing. Without the breath, nothing works.
And related to breath, Tracy has a question regarding the always filling up with extra breath. What is your recommendation to prevent tightening when taking extra breath?
You have to use all of that breath to sing. That's the whole point. Yeah. By always not withholding and saying, oh, I won't have enough breath. No, the more you use, the more you take. And the more you use, the more you take, even with piano singing. Don't feel you have to hold back and be small. Open up wide and let the air travel with the sound, which diffuses the otherwise concentrated sound and lets it waft out as on a cloud. So take the breath, use it to sing. Take the breath, use it to sing.
And then John Reinbach is asking about Scandinavian literature, and he's wondering if you have any insights into different vowel sounds in Swedish, Norwegian, and Finnish, and if you can recommend any ways to explore literature in those languages.
Oh, well, interesting question. Okay, well, I lived in Sweden for 8 years. So obviously I learned how to speak the language, and I lived actually very close to Norway. So the dialect that I was familiar with was almost Norwegian anyway. So it was kind of a mixture of Swedish and Norwegian. So you just being there, you pick up the sounds. It's very hard to learn from a lexicon or from books or phonetics and everything. You have to be there. Or you have to listen to Swedish people talking. You go down to the local Swedish restaurant in New York City and you listen to all the Swedes there. Where are they at? What is it called? Aquavit, that big, gorgeous restaurant there. And you listen to all the Swedish people and they go the way they talk with that funny lilting sound in their language. And you listen to the different vowels and you just listen. You learn by listening. Yeah, that's what I would suggest. And of course, there's so many fantastic Scandinavian composers. I'm not familiar with Finnish. I can't say that I am, but I'm able to sing in Danish and Swedish and Norwegian.
Thank you. So then Marion is wondering, do you have a process for expressing poetry and in doing so bringing the character to life?
Well, again, keep it simple. Whenever I sing something, I bring my own life experience to it. In other words, it's where the rubber hits the road. The text meets me. Yeah, the text that has already been written, the poetry that has been written, I have to understand it. I have to see it on its different levels, allegorically, and whatever the back meaning of it, the meaning behind the scenes. And then rather than try and do a mental interpretation, I try and have an emotional interpretation of it. In other words, whilst you're singing, you simply react to what the words are saying to you in that moment. And sometimes they mean different things on different days. So try not to get locked into a scheme of things. Be reactive, be intuitive, be spontaneous. And by doing it that way, you never get tired of what you're doing because it's always a new experience. And it always sounds fresh and honest and genuine.
Okay. And as a follow-up, Sophie is wondering, how do you engage with those emotions then if you haven't experienced them in your own life? Sort of maybe more dramatic emotions, things like love and death and loss. If you haven't gone through those personally, how then do you bring them out when you sing?
Okay, well, I always approached it like I was Emily Dickinson, one of probably the greatest American poets that there is, in my opinion, because she was able to sit in a garden and observe different plants and animals and insects and birds, and she understood how nature and spirituality and future and past and present worked. She was a true philosopher by just this simple observation and putting it in such uncannily simple language, which was genius. So if you haven't experienced death, all you have to do is go out and sit in a garden and watch a bird of prey attack a little sparrow, and it's pretty sad. And you'll get the idea of what it's about to die. Yes, that's loss. That would always affect me very deeply. Or when you see something that I once experienced is seeing somebody hit an animal on the road, and I was traumatized for months after seeing that happen. It just hurt me so deeply. It was so sad and so something I couldn't control, something so totally meaningless and awful. So even those kinds of losses can teach you how to respond to something that you are singing in a poem. And each of us has experienced love at some level, even if it's just love for when the sun comes out. We're also happy, we're grateful that the sun is shining. Or let's say it's been really hot and it starts to rain and you're like, oh, thank God it's raining, it feels so much better. Even those slight, tiny experiences can teach you so much about what is in all of this poetry and where it came from.
Thank you. So regarding technique and teachers, Linda is wondering, she says that you mentioned that when teachers began asking things of your voice that you felt were off or not right for your voice, you had to teach yourself and listen to other singers, for example, Miss Freni. And how long did it take you to find out whether something was good for your voice or whether it was more of a conflict for you? And how do you navigate all of these different schools of thought that are out there?
Okay, well, when I first came to the Mozarteum, I had a teacher, she was rather famous, and she said, I'm going to make you to an opera singer. And that was already a red flag for me. I thought, oh, that's the last thing I want. And then she said, you have to sing like this. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And I said, hi, thank you so much. Thank you for your kind help. Goodbye, thank you. I left. I went to another teacher and she said, I'm going to make you into an opera singer. You have to sing like this. And I said, thank you so much. Goodbye. And I left the studio and I said, I'm not doing any of that. That's ridiculous. Because I trusted my own musical taste and my own instincts, and I knew what my voice sounded like, and I thought it sounded okay. So I didn't want to change it. And I didn't want to be an opera singer ever. So I was not in any conflict there. And then I found a teacher who just played piano for me, and we looked at all the repertoire, and I decided which songs I liked and which songs I didn't. And then I went off and had a career. That was it. So basically, I just sang along with Marilla Franey or whatever other singer, Lucia Pop or whatever, that I liked the sound of their voices. I'd sing along with them. And if it worked and if it felt easy, then that was okay. I trusted that. I trusted my instincts. And that's what it all boils down to. You have to know who you are, what your instincts are, and how much you can trust them.
Okay, and we have a question from Mariah, who asks, do you have any tips on how one should approach the upper passaggio, especially for sopranos?
My advice is ignore it. It doesn't exist. It's it's there to make you scared. Ignore it. It just, I mean, we love singing high notes. That's why we're sopranos. It's the easiest thing in the world to pop off. Once you get to F sharp, you just keep going and it's just go, yeah? And getting up there, of course, you can't take the whole weight of your middle voice up there. You just get a little bit narrower, a little bit like an hourglass. And then once you're there, you just open back up again and off you go. And not to be afraid of it. You know, I didn't know what passaggio was until I started teaching at the Mozarteum 15 years ago. I'd never heard the word. I didn't know what people were talking about. So what are you what are you talking about? And they said, oh, you have to be careful up around F sharp. And I said, why? I love singing F sharp. What's the problem? And they were all, oh, you got to be really careful. I mean, the passaggio we have to worry about is this one here. That lower passaggio, because our voices aren't strong there. And that's where we have to really work between the mixed voice, starting from, let's say, from A, da, 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 and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in head voice. And you really feel the difference, but you have to trust it and let it happen. The voice knows what to do. She's just doing her automatic car gearbox change, and let her do it. Doesn't matter. Even if it feels different, so what? That's the way the voice works. That's where you have to trust. Trust is everything, and not trying to make it happen. You let it happen.
Okay, thank you very much. I suppose we could open it up to a couple more questions if anyone wants to type them quickly. Or if you're feeling brave, perhaps you'd like to unmute and just ask out loud. And also, so we have a question here from Jan in the chat who is wondering how to control the breath and make sure it's not escaping. I suppose, Jan, you're wondering how to make sure you're not losing air unnecessarily.
Okay, well, this is again bringing the singing voice back to speech level. If we do this silly exercise that I love to do, is where you just count from 1 to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My vocal cords are closed, yeah? And I'm speaking on a pitch. So there's no air going 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no air escaping. 1, 2, 3, 4. The air that's touching my vocal cords is converted into sound, right? And you just keep that feeling, that humming feeling, that speaking feeling, all the way up and down. Then you don't have to worry about an unnatural escape of air. On the other hand, you don't want to have over-pressed vocal cords that nothing can get through, because it's the air playing those stretched vocal cords that makes the sound and also makes the vibrato, makes that oscillation of the larynx. So you have to find the balance about how much air escapes, how much air is subglottal pressure, right? But if you bring it down to language, it's very easy because we talk all day long. And we don't even, do we think about talking? No, we just do it. So what's the difference? Take the same feeling in our throat and use that to sing. And then it always works out.
Very much. And so now Ida is asking, what advice can you give to American singers who are wanting to sing in European opera or recital halls, and how difficult is it to get plugged into that arena?
The honest answer, it's wicked hard. That's why lots of people come to do either graduate studies or postgraduate in Europe, just to plug themselves into that area, to that field, so that they can throw themselves in front of a bus and get noticed and audition for young artist programs or opera houses if there's ever a position that's ever going to open up again after this crazy crisis we've been through. It's very hard. It's hard for the European singers. It's hard for everybody. The biggest problem we discovered was when they opened up Russia and all the East Bloc singers came here with their big voices and kind of screwed things up for the rest of us here. That was a problem. Now they found a nice balance where the good Russians are here, and that's a good thing because they offer us good idols to look up to and to enjoy and admire. And things have balanced itself out again. But again, we have to get through this crisis that we've all gone through, and eventually things will open up again. But right now, the situation is tough. I mean, it was always tough, and now it's ridiculously tough. Because, I mean, America's open. We're not open here. I'm just getting my second shot next week. Most people under 50 have no chance of getting a shot the next 2 months. So we're still stuck here. People are trying to give performances, but it's just not really working very well. And nobody can survive financially like that. You can't expect an opera house to put on a full schedule of performances when they can only have 200 people in the audience. It doesn't work that way. So it's really hard right now. I tell all my students, you got to have a plan B, at least for the next couple of years. And then we'll see if you can catch the curve when things open up again. It's very, very hard. There's no other way to say it than the honest truth.
Yes, Juliana was also wondering about comparing careers in the US versus Europe. So hopefully that answers Juliana's question a little bit also.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that there's always more work in Europe than in America, just because there's more culture in Europe than there is in America. That's just the honest truth. Again, America has much more stress on sports and other things. And Europe, still culture is just hanging on by its fingertips, but it's also, slipping away pretty quickly here as well.
So Louise is wondering then, in addition to the Mozarteum, are there other postgraduate programs that you would recommend over there?
Anything you can get into, yeah. Anything, all of the German Hochschulen are very good. You can't say that any of them are bad. I wouldn't advise going to Italy. The instruction there has gone downhill in the past decades. I mean, France is good, but really it's the German-speaking countries, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, England, Anglo-Saxon countries are the best bet.
Okay, and so a question then from Annika, who's wondering, do you have advice on how to balance a career as a performer with other interests or with family?
Super hard. Depending upon what kind of career you have. If you are engaged at an opera house and you have a job there, you can have a family life. You may end up doing a couple of concerts regionally, or jump in occasionally in a local theater that's next to your theater, the next town over, whatever. That's pretty manageable. But if you have a high-powered, international, top-notch career, it's virtually horrible. I can't say I know any colleague who got out of that unscathed. It's tough.
And would you say, Mariah is wondering, are there specific things that directors and conductors look for in Europe? Are different expectations over there versus America?
Authenticity. I think that's what anybody's looking for. They're looking for people with personalities, slightly eccentric personalities, because that stands out, being more interesting than run-of-the-mill, I sing well, but I'm boring type of person. You have to find out who you are and bring that to the forefront. You have to present yourself, not just sing well. You have to be somebody. Your voice should be authentic and recognizable on the radio. They should know after 4 seconds, that's Cecilia, that's Thomas Hampson, that's Renee, that's Anne-Sophie von Otter, that's da. You should know within a couple of seconds who the singer is. That's the whole point, being authentic, being true to yourself. That's what they're looking for. And
are there major differences in vocal technique that's expected between the two sides of the pond?
Not so much expected as observed. Again, as I said before, the American technique tends to be much brighter, much more frontal, much twangier, and the European and influenced by Russia is much darker, much more covered, a bigger sound, a warmer, richer sound than the American sound. It's just, that's basically the observation that we all have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good.
When does that work for you?
Fantastic. We have about 7 minutes left. There aren't any other questions. We do have one alternate, but we don't have time. Shall we ask Hannah? Hannah, would you like to sing for us?
Yes, I'd love to.
Okay, wonderful.
Great. Hello. Hi.
Hi, my name is Hannah Chang, and I'll be singing Mio Caro Bene from Rodelinda by Handel.
Mio caro bene, caro, caro, mio caro bene, non ho più affanni e bene, non ho più affanni al cor, non ho più bene al cor, non ho più affanni, no, 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 non ho più bene al cor. Mio caro bene, non ho più affanni e bene, non ho più affanni e bene, non ho più bene al cor, non ho più bene al cor, non ho più affanni, non ho più affanni, non ho più bene al cor, non ho più bene al cor. Vedendoti contento, nel seno mio già sento, nel seno mio già sento, che sei più il bergamor, che sei più il bergamor, vedendoti contento, nel seno mio già sento, che sei più il bergamor. Mio caro bene, caro, caro, mio caro bene, non ho più affanni a bene, non ho più affanni al cor, non ho più bene al cor, non ho più affanni, no, 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 non ho più bene al cor. Mio caro bene, non ho più affanni e bene, non ho più affanni e bene, non ho più bene al cor, non ho più bene al cor, non ho più affanni, non ho più affanni, non ho più bene al cor, non ho più bene al cor.
So, Hannah, that was great. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. That was really, for me, a really great ending because we don't have time to work, but I'm just going to give you some feedback. What I noticed was this lovely stillness in the way that you carry yourself. There wasn't, because when you sing coloratura, it's really hard. Sometimes we chase them around and we think if we move more, it'll make it easier to sing the coloraturas. It actually makes it so much harder. If you can stand completely still and trust that center and just let the coloratura come by itself. So beautiful, so balanced. That was really great. So now your voice is not too bright. It's not too dark. It's right there in the middle. It has all the elements of both of those parts. It has the carrying power, and at the same time, it has the warmth of the space in the back. So your technique sounds incredibly balanced and really, really organic and natural and genuine. So I really appreciate that. And also to the other girls where I was talking about not using vibrato so much. You heard with Hannah singing, with your singing, that when you don't have time to vibrate, you just sing the notes. That acts as its own vibrato in a way. The coloration is its own vibrato. So you don't need to add vibrato on top, you just sing the notes. Dum dum da 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 dum 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 da da dum dum da 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 da. There's no time to vibrate. You just sing the notes. And that's enough. And then it sounds clean and it sounds elegant and it sounds tasteful, and we understand the pitches, we understand the words, especially because there's no interference in the sound of your voice. And also the coloratura was really, really beautifully sung, very easy, very light, leggero, and at the same time they had substance and they had a direction. So all in all, that was a really, really beautiful performance. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions right now.
That was a lovely encore. Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Super. Okay.
Thank you so much, Hannah. And Barbara, thank you so much. It's just been such a wonderful opportunity the last few days to hear you working with our students. Thank you. Thank you.